Welcome to the Mind Over Law podcast, where we break the traditional rules of practicing law. Our focus is helping you first to become a better, happier person, which in turn will make you a better, happier lawyer, both in and out of the courtroom. We will combine mindset and energy practices grounded in ancient wisdom along with cutting-edge neuroscience, give you those skills, plus I'll have deep conversations with some of the most thoughtful leaders that will share their life stories, their leadership journeys, and their legal practice wisdom. I'm Lexlee Overton, and my promise is that each episode will offer practical insights and strategies to empower your law practice, your leadership skills, and most of all, your personal well-being. Join me, and I promise you'll become a better you, lawyer, and leader. Welcome back to the Mind Over Law podcast, where we dive deep into conversations with leaders who are making a real impact. Today, I am thrilled to introduce a powerhouse in the legal world, Dawn Smith. Dawn's journey in law started in the 8th grade when she had a visit to the U.S. Supreme Court, which sparked a passion that would shape her career. As the first in her family to graduate college, she earned her law degree and quickly made a name for herself as a relentless trial lawyer, securing over $60 million in verdicts and settlements early in her career. Now she's the managing partner of Smith Clinesmith, a firm dedicated to protecting the rights and dignity of the elderly in nursing home and healthcare facilities across 18 states. Beyond her impressive legal career, Dawn is truly passionate about talking about leading with a passion with purpose, helping others to align their work with what truly drives them. I can't wait to dive into this conversation. Dawn, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you.
I'm so excited to be here. And you are looking fabulous, as always.
Oh, look at you. You too. I love it. I love the power. Is it red? It's coming across red on the camera.
It's hot pink, actually.
Hot pink. There you go. I love hot pink too. Anything that's we're recording this right before Valentine's Day. So you just own in the energy of the week, right? I want to jump right in because you have so much wisdom to offer us. And one of the first questions I want to ask you is that making the decision to run your own firm is a really big leap. And I want to know, was there a time that you almost didn't do that, didn't take that step? And what pushed you forward?
So I blindly ran into it. I'm really lucky. I have an amazing partner, Curtis Clinesmith. He was my mentor when I was coming up. And I always wanted to be a partner of a law firm, but I didn't really understand or appreciate what owning a law firm. I was just thinking partnership, we'll work together. Well, I have to say my lack of knowledge was probably the best thing that could have ever happened to me.
Right.
I didn't know enough to be scared about what was on the other side. I never thought for once, I don't want to do this. I was so excited to actually be a named partner in a firm. I was just trying to do anything that I could to get there. So
that's awesome.
The fear came later.
Yeah, the fear came later. That brings us right into it because we're often talking to you and talking about the things that hold us back and the things that drive us. And fear can be a driver too in some ways that can be important to help us to really push through. But what would you say? I don't like to think about the word balance, work-life balance, I think is a myth kind of in some ways. What would you say to lawyers who are like really struggling with staying really passionate about, because I know what you really love to talk about is finding passion in your life, but staying passionate, but also okay in such a high stake, high pressure profession?
Yeah, that's a great question. There really is no such thing as balance. So I feel like you have to love what you do. I've told my kids forever, just find something that you love, because if you're for us, being a lawyer, it's hard. It's hard work, especially a plaintiff's lawyer dealing with catastrophic injuries and death and families that are going through so much trauma. Secondary trauma is real. You're living through all of this stuff. And if you don't live through it, then you cannot tell the story in a compelling way. You just can't. Have to do that. If you're going to choose to be in a profession like this, find something about the profession that you love. It doesn't even have to be litigation. It could be research. Maybe you love writing appellate briefs. Maybe you like selling legal services. There's so many things. That's what I love so much about the law is once we get a law degree, it teaches you how to think. It opens so many doors. And I truly believe that we can all find something that we really love, because if you don't, then you're just spinning your wheels. It's just a matter of, then you're starting to think work-life balance, because there's no such thing. I like to always say work-life integration, because I love work. I love what I do. When we say work-life balance, it sounds like work is bad.
Exactly.
I wouldn't be the same person if I hadn't done what I've done over the last 22 years. And I wouldn't change it for a second. So I think embracing a part of the law that you love and trying to focus on that and trying to weed out the things that you hate about what you do more and more, I think that's how you find some sort of integration with work and living your best life.
Yeah, I think that's such amazing advice. And I think you say that we go to law school and it teaches how to think, but I also think that we get caught in a certain role or a certain way, and then we think there isn't anything else. So it is about being willing to search and maybe do things a little bit outside the box. It doesn't have to be the way that it's always been done.
That's right. That's scary though, too.
Yes.
We learn a certain way, and to take that step out of the box is, I don't know, energizing, but also causes so much fear, because you don't know what's on the other side. And sometimes it just feels like it's better to just stay stuck, because I know what stuck is and I've learned how to deal with stuck, than just taking that step forward and trying something new. And my dad, I don't know why I just thought of him. He passed away a long time ago, but, and I'm just like choked up thinking about him. But he always said, life's a banquet and most people are starving. And he also said, just make a decision, Dawn, because just make a decision, move forward, because if it's not the right decision, you can always make another decision and another.
Yes,
so just don't, his whole thing was just forward progress. Don't stay stuck, move forward.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how do you deal with the fear? And that's what you're saying, is just decide to make some action. And then you look at that. You and I have talked about this before. I think that all comes down to the story about what it means, right? So the story of staying stuck is, there's science behind that. Our brains are really addicted to what we're familiar with, right? That's the safe place. Even if it's a place we don't like to be, it's safer than what the unknown is. So it's really working on changing that story to, and the what if all goes wrong, to what if all goes amazing, or what if I learn something I don't know, and changing the story so it's something that's exciting as opposed to the worst fear that you could imagine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I really truly believe that you can manifest things by thinking about them. And if it's about negative things that are going to happen, your mind's focusing on those negative things as opposed to the positive things that could happen. Why waste your energy? Of course, you have to be prepared. You need to think about all of the scenarios that could problem, because you want to prepare for those things. But then once you've prepared for them, if they're in your vision, opened up your mind to see those things, focus on the things that you want to happen, that you believe that can happen. I just feel like that's a much better way to move forward with things, especially hard things.
Yeah, we do manifest what we think about, because manifestation really is about our most dominant thoughts and actions therefrom. So if we're really focused on the fear part, then our action is going to be inaction, or we're going to be smaller in how we take action or whatever. So then we create it. The opposite is true if you do the opposite of that. So I think that's really powerful to think of it like that. I love to think about what I have an almost 30-year-old daughter. So it's a lot of fun right now to where she is. She's a high functioning executive, but she often calls me for advice. So it's like giving my younger self advice, because she is very much an overachiever. So I'm really been trying to I'm so sorry I did that to you. Let me correct that. You are worthy no matter what you do. But I love to think about it like when I'm doing that with her. But it's also like thinking about, what's the one piece of advice, if you could go back to the younger lawyer you, that would be about, in the line of what we're talking about, staying follow passion and purpose? What would that be?
Oh, gosh. I just feel like I got so lucky. I feel like I've always done that. And there are so many things around me that kind of set me up for that. Really scared initially that I wasn't smart enough to be a lawyer. I was just terrified because I always wanted to be a lawyer from like when I was 9.
I know, eighth grade, going to court. What an amazing story. Yeah.
So I always did. And then, so when I was getting to those steps the part of my journey to where I had to take that next step, I was so terrified. And the hardest thing that I ever did, honestly, to becoming a lawyer was the morning I had to get up and take a practice LSAT exam. I was laying in bed. I was with my future husband, and it was rainy outside. It was early. And I just thought, do I need to get up? But what was happening is my grades weren't great in undergrad. They were okay. It was like 3.5 or something like that. So I really had to do well on that test or I wasn't going to get into law school. And am I smart enough? Am I going to do? And I was just like, what? Just get up. Just get up, just go. And that was harder than everything, harder than getting into law school, my first year in law school, taking the bar, all of that. It was so much harder. And then I was just trying to find a job, and I lucked into finding this plaintiff's firm with a dad and 2 brothers, the Cifarelli law firm. And they were so gracious to me. They taught me really everything they knew. They let me try cases. I tried 3 cases right out of law school. And they sent me all over the place, taking all these really important depositions. And I just fell in love with being able to stand next to someone and just be their voice, standing next to somebody that could not stand up for themselves against these huge corporations that had taken advantage of them. That just resonates with me, being able to do that. And it's such an honor to do that. So I've been lucky. I've been really lucky. I knew I wanted to be a lawyer. I knew I wanted to be in court, but I just fell into a great place where I got so much training from incredible trial lawyers.
You just brought up so many memories for me. And so I'm going to ask some questions that sparked in my mind from that. One, you're talking about that secondary trauma is real. And then 2, it is high stakes, right? It doesn't really matter what kind of law you practice. People are counting on you in some way, right?
Yeah.
So what is it that because I didn't do it the right way. I did it the way where I walked out of a courtroom at 30 thinking I was having a heart attack, right? Yeah. So then I had to really focus on how to do this better. So what is it? Because the way that you talk about it and how much that you love it, I loved being the storyteller for my client, but I do know that it took its toll because of the way that I was doing it and the way I was pushing through. So what would be some of the tips that you would say that help you to stay where it's not exhausting you? The secondary trauma is not that part of it too, but whether just the pressure, what are you doing to help with that?
So when I was younger, I went through a really hard childhood, not a young childhood, but my mom became addicted to opioids. And I moved out of my house when I was 13. I moved in with my best friend or my grandmother, and then my best friend. Then I moved in with my dad. And I really had an ability because of that trauma to be able to disassociate with the hard things that I was dealing with. So because of all the hard things I went through, it was an automatic ability to be able to compartmentalize things, compartmentalize work, compartmentalize the trauma that I was absorbing while I was presenting the case. And I was really able to deal with things like that for a really long time. It was just second nature. It was the way I knew how to
pretty incredible. That's pretty incredible because a lot of people don't do that naturally. Yeah.
And it wasn't, it probably wasn't a good thing for most people, but somehow I could do that because of what I went through. It started catching up with me, I think, within the last 5 years or so. As my kids got older, as they were going through the same ages of the things that I was going through, I was re-experiencing some of those, all of the things that I'd pushed away. And I started really looking inward and trying to figure out how to deal with that. And I think meditation has helped me a lot. I do a loving kindness meditation practice that during COVID, that has helped me a lot. I tried to meditate, do a couple of different methods, and that really didn't resonate with me, but the loving kindness does. I will sit and get just really emotional after I've spent time doing that. And I don't know what it is about that meditation.
Oh, it's such a powerful practice. It changes the way you view the world. A lot of lawyers, I saw it when I was practicing, and I see it with the lawyers that I work with, lose a lot of energy over their opposing counsel and the way that things are. And like, it's crazy, but a loving kindness meditation practice changes the way you view people, and it changes the way you view yourself. And so therefore it changes your world, because if the view is anger and resentment, and that's how the world is, right? And if the practice is loving kindness, that's how your world is.
Yeah.
It's really amazing. It's a beautiful practice. I love that you do that and that you mentioned it. That's really great. So when you're talking with lawyers and I know that you're passionate about talking about finding passion in your life, whether it's in law or otherwise, what's one of the most common excuses that you hear from lawyers about why they can't truly pursue something that they love in or outside of the law, and how do you respond to that?
I think I can't afford it, or I don't have time for that. Those are the two things that are the obstacles that pop up most of the time. And niching down into a practice, because that's what we did. We decided we were going all in on nursing home abuse litigation in our national practice. And we had to make some really hard decisions to be able to do that. We had to turn cases away that maybe were $1 million cases and only take a referral instead of working those cases up. And it's scary. Are we going to have enough of those kind of cases? What if we only have this one referral partner and they stop sending us cases? But I really think that if you take a minute to sit down and really sort through what you like and what you don't like about your practice or your life, these are all of the things that I really thrive in. These things give me energy. These things drain me. Take a minute to make those lists and then try to just adjust little by little into more of that quadrant that gives you energy and life, and take these things away slowly but surely, then it's not such a huge step.
Yeah. I think that's a powerful practice. What I do is I have people think about all the roles they have in their lives. And so they're the traditional roles, like I'm a mother, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm a lawyer. They're the traditional things. And there's like the roles really are anything you spend your energy in. One of my roles used to be homework queen, because I had to stay on top of, have a beautiful teenage boy, stay on top of that. I didn't like that role at all. But looking at every way that you spend energy, and that's really about having awareness and auditing where your time is. And lawyers resist that, but it's so powerful when you do it. And then asking that question, which one of these, where am I on a scale of 1 to 10? 10 being I feel amazing in this, and 1. And maybe you might have a role that you think that you could feel amazing in, like for me, the role of daughter should be a 10, right? But my dad is on a dementia journey. It's been hard, right? That's been a role that it's been draining because it's so sad. And so I have to ask myself, how do I empower that role? Because I'm not giving it up. So it's like how do you get more power and energy in the ones that you want to be in? How do you let go of those that you were talking about? And then being open to what do you really wish that you had? Yeah.
That's powerful.
Yeah. And what role do I wish I had? I want to be a guitar player, but I'm not very good at it. And I come up with the excuse. So I want to talk about this because this is one of the common ones that you hear. I do say on that one, my number one excuse right now is I don't have the time. And I totally know it comes down to my intention of where I'm putting it. But what's your advice on that when lawyers say, I don't have the time to do something? I can barely keep my head above water. How can I figure out this or find something else that brings passion in my life?
The whole thing is to think about energy. I think you really have to think about your energy and your energy levels and what gives you energy and what takes energy away.
100%.
So if you are doing something that maybe you're thinking right now, that's just going to take extra time away. But if it gives you energy, then you're going to have more time really to do the things that are outside of that scope. So I try to talk about really that energy void and that kind of engine that you get with the things that you really love. And I just try to encourage people to just take one step. Just take one step and see how it feels, and then take another, and then take another. And then it just doesn't become so overwhelming. And really, honestly, if they're not willing to commit to it, it's not going to happen. If I don't have time, I don't have that. If you don't have time and you're not willing to just sit down and think about it, then you're not ready yet. You have to be ready before you can get that time, I think.
Yeah, I talk about, instead of saying time management, it's all about energy management.
Yeah.
Figure that out. Your life's going to be rocking. And I do have there are friends of mine who say, gosh, you work so much. And I'm like, no, but you don't understand. I love what I do. So it doesn't feel like that to me. So I'm doing something I love. So it's not, as we said, it makes it sound like work is bad. I think it's a terrible work. It really does just have a connotation like it's work, it's hard. And really, it could be easy and amazing.
Or even hard. Oh, hard and amazing.
Hard and amazing.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
But sometimes it is hard. But that's really, a lot of times, that's what makes it worthwhile, is because you know that this is hard. You can do it. You know, you're the right person to do it. You're the right person to be in that seat at that very moment, and having that privilege and honor to be able to have the presence to be able to do that.
Right.
You got to lean into that.
Yeah, that becomes a gratitude practice. I think work ethic is tied to gratitude.
Yeah.
So it comes down to, I get to do this, not that I have to do it. I'm grateful. You just used the word, the honor of doing, the privilege of doing it. I'm grateful that I have this opportunity. And the more gratitude that you can bring into it, the more your work ethic is going to skyrocket and feel easier to be into, because it's something that's rewarding. And we all, at the end of the day, big tie to happiness is fulfillment. Feeling like we're contributing. Contribution is really key to that.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah, this has been so wonderful. I could just go on and on, but I'm going to close out with the 3 questions that we always ask our guests. First one, I'm curious to see the answer to this, is what's something that you're excited about that you're creating right now in life?
So that's a hard one. I'm a new empty nester. My daughter's a sophomore now. My son's almost a senior in college, and really just creating fun with my husband and just kind of creating our relationship after the kids have moved out. I think that's the most important creative thing that I'm doing. You have to learn all over again. It's just, you just get so caught up in that minutia and games, and you have to go here and have to get them there, and it just changes. The dynamic changes. So,
what a fun way to turn that story of the empty nester into that this has now opened up space because you have less energy day to day when our children are gone, to that's a new energy that I get to create, and I get to recreate this relationship. That's a fun story. I love that.
I haven't told my husband that. I think especially right before Valentine's Day then.
Okay, the second question is, we like to talk about breaking some of the traditional ways, the rules that we have in this profession. So what's one rule you would tell lawyers to break?
So I think we shy away from emotions so much, especially as women lawyers. And emotions are so powerful. In so many things we do, especially as a litigator, which is what I am. They're so powerful that you just really have to embrace them.
Yeah.
I would encourage people to not be worried about what someone else is going to think if they actually are feeling when they're giving an important argument. We are people. We're lawyers, but we're people too. And I think emotions are really underrated.
Yeah. Well, it makes us, and when you're telling stories like that, it's what makes us connect to people.
Yeah.
Right? Emotions and vulnerability is a powerful connector. I love that because I can remember thinking as a young female lawyer, especially because I practiced with my dad, who was a traditional, very aggressive male lawyer. All right. Yeah. And that aggression is not a natural emotion for me, and I'm much more just shy from it. But I felt like I had to wear a certain mask that I never showed fear. And I actually think that when I learned to say to a jury, I'm a little nervous up here, I'm a little afraid about who else is with me. And it was so surprising how many people would raise their hand. And then there's this connection. We're in this together because we're being more honest and vulnerable about it. So I think if you can get to that space, it has such power. It's really a great one. So thank you for bringing that up.
I agree.
And the last question for you is, what is one practice or habit? You've already talked about meditation, so that might be your answer, but you might be able to come up with another one. Practice or habit that helps you to be a healthier, happier person.
Yeah, 100%.
Meditation.
I just didn't even realize or appreciate what an impact that it would have. And you know what? Yoga really helps me too. So I went to a class not too long ago, and I hadn't been in a while. And I went to my favorite yogi. She happened to be teaching that day, and she owns the studio. And I was literally on the mat, just at the end of it, right? Because you hold so much tension in your hips and all of that, which I had no idea a long time ago. But just being able to release all of that emotion that you have, the anxiety, the stress that you have from trying to run at such a high level. Yoga's help is super helpful. I ran up to her afterwards. I'm like, thank you so much. And she both us when he was high. But I would say that really helps me a lot. If I'm just feeling overwhelmed or just like even stuck or stressed, just going to a good yoga class helps me a lot.
I love it. So both of those, meditation and yoga, are ways to change our state, but they're really about having a presence. Yoga is all about being in the body, right? And in this moment. And then meditation, there's so many different forms that helps us to do that. So I'm so glad that you talked about it, and knowing that you can do a certain type that's like loving kindness. That's not about that you have to sit and not have a thought, which most people are like, especially lawyers, just like, I cannot do that. Yeah. So it's really great to hear that you are really alive in those practices and how much that they've helped you. Thanks for sharing that and all of your wisdom today. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me. I love you. I really admire what you're doing and your journey in Mind Over Law. It's amazing that you just took this leap to do just what you were passionate about. And it's turned into something amazing to where you're making all of us better.
Thank you so much. Thanks for listening to today's episode of Mind Over Law. We hope that you're walking away inspired and ready to embrace your life and law practice in a more holistic, healthier, happier way. Don't forget to hit subscribe and let us know what you think. Leaving a review helps us to spread the word to others. Be sure to follow us on socials for all the behind-the-scenes fun and sneak peeks of upcoming episodes. Until next time, remember, with intention, anything is possible.